Oh, goody.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Zombies here again, and today we are back with another Mercenaries video. This one is just going to be talking about some big issues with the mode and frustrations with it that I have had in my time doing this, and it's just stuff that I felt needed to be highlighted again because with the announcement of the mini set, and I'm sure many of you saw this yesterday, a lot of people, myself included, were less than thrilled by the fact that for this first, new Mercs release of the new cycle, we don't even get a line of text in the announcement. And that's just absurd to me. I mean, like, come on. Like, as if the mode could be treated by like any less it's ridiculous. Like, treat the mode more of a joke, why don't you? Like, it's so sad what this mode has had incredible potential from the beginning, and it feels like in a lot of ways things have only gotten worse as time has gone on. Now, I've been trying really hard to keep an open mind about this new release cycle, but yesterday it was I just had enough. Like, I'm tired of having to God, I can't even fucking speak. I'm tired of having to hope that there is something better around the corner when that just does not seem to be happening. It really doesn't. The lack of communication for this mode has been abysmal. It's a joke. And especially when you look at almost any other Hearthstone mode and we see how much they have improved communication and whatnot. And it's just not here for Mercenaries. And I really don't know if it's ever going to be. It really doesn't feel that way. And so what I have up here, this is one of the posts they made when the year of the Hydra got announced. This was right around 23.0. And this was when they talked about changing the Mercenaries release cycle. Now, from the beginning, I was always skeptical about this change. I do not think that this is a change that is going to benefit the game in some great way. And there are a lot of negatives that come alongside it if they do not handle it correctly. And as they've shown us in these last almost 2 months now, they don't have either the ability or the care to handle it correctly, because they let this meta just sit for 2 months where it's by far the worst meta and the most RNG clown bullshit that I have ever experienced in this game. It's like, if I wanted to go and have all this RNG in my game, I would go play regular Hearthstone. Like, that's not why I played Mercenaries. And it seems they clearly don't understand why people play this game. Like, they just don't. Like, the game, that makes sense because the game doesn't understand what it's trying to be. It doesn't succeed at being a PvE-focused game, and it doesn't succeed at being a PvP-focused game. It literally is the worst of both worlds right now, and I was really hoping that this patch would do something to change that. And, we don't know until we get the patch notes on Tuesday or whatever. But my confidence in this patch doing good things for the game right now is just not high. It really put me off that they can't even bother doing a little announcement blog, because, and this is why I have this up and we can see it highlighted, when they talked about changing the release cycle like this, they talked about how, oh hey, Mercenaries will continue to have updates like events, balance changes, bug fixes, improvements, blah blah blah. Well, we just waited for 2 fucking months and we didn't really see any of that. So that's pretty cool. So, I mean, right off the bat there, why should we trust what they say to begin with? Like, it just doesn't happen. And then the next part, which I and many others brought up yesterday, this shift will allow Mercenaries to have its own big moment like the other major modes do. Well, that's just not true. That's like categorically false when you're literally just putting it out with the mini set. All you're doing is promoting the mini set, not even a sentence about this first big Mercs drop. So that doesn't really strike me as, its own big moment. It's ridiculous that we have to put up with this. And I'm really sick of it. Like, there's a reason you can count on two hands or less the amount of creators that are left in this mode. And it's because they do absolutely nothing to support it or the community that has formed around it. Pretty much every major thing that has happened in this game since launch has all been the community. It's ridiculous. And there's nothing. Like, they just don't. It feels like they do not give a shit about us. And I'm not the only one who feels that way, because there were tons of comments from people saying basically the same thing. Like, it's just, we're 8 months post-release. Like, come on. I tried to be patient and whatnot, but eventually, you can only ask a person to keep waiting for the future and then never delivering. You can only ask them to do that so many times before they get sick of it and leave. And unfortunately, that is what is happening to this game. People are sick of it. I was looking at the ladder stuff the other night just to get an idea of, how many people are still playing and all this, and comparing last season's ladder. And last season was no great season in particular, but looking at the difference between last season and this season, the amount of people who ended up climbing to 12k MMR for the max rewards has been cut in half. It went from like 150-ish people to like 70, 75-ish. That is a huge portion of people who have just decided, I just don't care anymore. The game is not giving me a reason to care, and so I'm not going to do anything. And that's without like even looking at, and that's only talking about the current meta problems and whatnot. That's not even looking at the fact that ladder has been absolutely destroyed for the past 6 months. It's plagued by bots and win traders and MMR abusers and all this shit, and they do nothing. The only thing they have done to quote unquote fix that was they removed a 14k cap that wasn't even the full problem. The 14k cap removal didn't fix anything. It just made the problem worse. And yet nothing. Silence. It's unreal. And frankly, like, I'm surprised at how they're handling this. They're saying, oh, just, in the future, it will have its moment. It's like, are you sure they're going to fucking be people here in the future to experience that moment? Because I'm really not so sure. Like, it's so beyond frustrating. Because, and if you're watching this video, you're one of the people who probably sees the same thing. There is so much potential for this mode, but they are squandering it terribly. And I'm tired of telling people that we just gotta wait a little bit longer. Like, eventually those words stop carrying any weight. They don't end up mattering because people don't believe them, because they've heard it too many times. They've heard, this is the patch that will fix things. This is when we're finally going to start giving a shit. And it doesn't happen. It just does not happen. And this patch, it seems, is just another in the long line of examples where that is the case. They aren't doing what needs to be done. We've been giving feedback about the problems with this game since day one. And 8 months later, and almost none of it has been dealt with. We don't even have a timetable as to when some of these problems are going to be dealt with. Just maybe someday, maybe in the future. Oh boy, great. Like, it just rings really, really hollow after a while. And that's when we even do get communication, because for months on end, we get nothing. We get absolutely no form of communication whatsoever. And so, of course, people end up coming up with their own ideas or own theories or whatever. And then we finally do get the smallest amount of communication possible from Blizzard telling us stuff in the patch notes and saying, hey, this drop is going to be the first of these new big Mercenaries drops, and we're going to, focus on it. And it's like, no, it's like, we lied. JK. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's just ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous how little effort is being put into this mode and how little marketing. Has anyone ever gone back and looked at how they marketed the crap out of this game back when they had $50 pre-orders to sell? But now that, they already scammed their money out of all the people who thought this mode was going to be great and then played it on launch and then realized it was a flaming dumpster fire and left. They already got their money from those people. And I'll let you in on a secret. I don't care how much you fix this game. The majority of those people are never coming back because you burnt that bridge. They trusted what you put out in terms of marketing, and you burned that trust. Blizzard burned that trust. That's not something you easily fix. I don't care if you make every single improvement under the sun to this mode. There are going to be people who were burned by that experience who are not ever going to give it another chance. So right there, right from the launch, you're already starting off on a bad note. And then they had the audacity to follow it up with another one. Oh yeah, players are, they're progressing a little bit too quickly for us. So we're going to nerf this one way of getting tasks at a semi-reasonable rate. By the way, we have a creator in our client showing people how to do that, but, we're not cool with it. So we're going to change it and make the grind even worse. And we're going to hear your feedback, quote unquote, but we're not going to do anything with that feedback. We're just going to tell you to screw yourself, essentially. And maybe we'll fix it in a few months, or maybe we'll change something with the tasks in a few months. It's that is so insane to me. I can't even wrap my head around that. How fucking stupid is that? Can you not understand that when you're going to drastically nerf or change something that directly affects the players in a negative way, that you shouldn't also do something positive to make that not a terrible experience for pretty much everybody involved? But no, apparently there's no foresight there. There's nothing. It's oh, we'll fix that in 6 months. Are you kidding me? This game is lucky it is in the Hearthstone client, because it would have crashed and burned by now if it was on its own, because people wouldn't stand for this. It's actually absurd. I mean, why does this game have to relearn all the lessons Hearthstone has learned and fixed over the 8 years it has existed? There's so many examples of that, whether we want to talk about the coins, whether we want to talk about the limited number of deck slots, whether you want to talk about the fact that you can't even share your comps with your friends. It's just absurd to me. This game is lacking in almost every single thing possible. And even if we try and look at it as a PvE focused mode, it sucks at that. It does not even succeed at that. There is nothing to do with these characters you're spending all this time grinding up if you don't want to play PvP. Once you finish the bounties and stuff, unless you feel like grinding up more characters who, again, if you're not playing PvP, what are you doing with them? Because once you level them up, there's no point to any of these bounties. There's nothing for you to do with these max level characters. And it does not sound like that is changing anytime soon. It is incredibly unlikely we see any kind of change in that regard in this new patch. And that means, going by their new release cycle here, we've got another 4 months. And God forbid the meta ends up being terrible again. Do we think they're going to actually step in and change things? I sure as hell don't. Because they didn't do that for 2 months here. 2 months is a pretty significant chunk of time. It's not like they had it's not like they didn't have other patches that came out in that same time span that fixed issues in multiple other modes. But no, apparently Mercenaries can go fuck itself. I can't. I really can't. It's really testing my patience. And I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of hoping eventually it's going to get better. And frankly, the words ring hollow with me. I will believe it is going to get better, and I'll believe they're actually trying to give this game any kind of support when I see it. Because frankly, their words don't mean anything to me right now. Because, as we saw before, we based our thoughts and our expectations off of their words before, and it was just a bunch of crap that didn't come to fruition at all. So it's like, how are we even supposed to trust that when they just have not been truthful to what they said? I mean, there's really no other way of interpreting this to me. Like, they're not willing to tell us the truth about this mode. And I just don't know where we go from here. If it were not for the great community we have here and whatnot, like, I would have left this game a long time ago. Because the game isn't giving me a reason to stay here. It's really not. It's actually giving me all kinds of reasons to leave. I don't like doing videos like this or being so negative, but God, it gets exhausting after a while and you get sick of it. And that's why I said for the longest time, the easiest way to deal with Mercenaries in this beginning stage is just to expect nothing. And for a while that was fine because we got nothing. You know, you can't be disappointed if you don't have any expectations. But then they gave us something to expect. And they're not delivering on that at all. And it's like, this is exactly the type of thing I was worried about happening. I did not have confidence in their team to handle this type of change in a release cadence in a way that was positive. And so far, they're just proving my feelings correct because they aren't handling it in a way that is good for the mode. It has been harder to do content for this game for the last 2 months than it has been for any other time so far in the game's life cycle. And it's not even close. It's not even remotely close. And even if you're a PvE person, that's dried up. we got our one bounty for the event, and that's it. I hope that was enough to entertain you for 2 months. Like, is that really what we can expect in between these content release cycles? They throw one merc and a small little bounty at us, and that's enough to call it a day. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's even more ridiculous when you look at the fact that they are trying to charge such an absurd amount of money for this mode in a game that is already expensive and overpriced. Like, it's just absurd. And eventually you get tired of supporting this. Like, I mean, I'm getting tired of supporting it. It's like, why should I do this at all anymore? Like, if the company isn't going to support their own game, why are we trying to, you know? Like, it's just so fucking frustrating. It really is. And unfortunately, we're probably not going to see or hear or know anything else about these supposed fixes for at least another 4 months or whatever it is. I'm just tired of going to bat for this mode and trying to make something work here for a game and community that I have a lot of passion for, and I'm just tired of it getting not even the bare minimum done for it by a company that's worth billions of dollars. It's not like they don't have the resources. They choose not to devote them. And that's the part that is the most insulting and frustrating. There is a reason that the larger Hearthstone community basically treats this game as a joke. And it's because that is how it is treated by the company that makes it. It's this weird experimental joke of an alpha or beta that was very clearly rushed out way too early to make some money for the shareholders before the end of year. And the players are the ones who have had to suffer for that decision. And 8 months later, it's really not getting any better. So when I started doing this, I said, I'm going to give it a year. And so far, I've stuck by that, and I plan to stick by that. But that's it. Like, I'm waiting until we essentially get to the anniversary of the launch. And if things haven't turned around, I think I might just be done. I've really just had enough. Like, if they can't do stuff by then, when we'll be getting near the end of the year, we're already halfway through the year, essentially, then I don't think it's ever going to happen. So I'm giving it till then. But if there's really not a change in direction here, I don't know if I'll be sticking around doing content for this mode past then. Because I love doing it for the community, and I think this game at its core foundation is great, but you can't ride a game's potential forever when it doesn't even try to realize its potential. And that's basically what Mercenaries has been for the past 8 months. It's not even trying to realize the potential that this mode has, which is sad. So yeah, that's it. Those are my thoughts. I didn't really plan this out very much. I had to even wait like basically a full day before I went to record this because I was so frustrated yesterday. I didn't even have the words to like put into this. Like it turned what was supposed to be a fun and exciting time into one that was just an exercise in frustration. And that sucks. Like, we've been waiting a very long time for this new patch, and it's supposed to be this first great big thing, and again, can't even bother with a sentence mentioning it. It's literally the mode is treated like the redheaded stepchild that is, they stick him in the Harry Potter closet and pretend he isn't there under the staircase. Like, that's basically the amount of support we've gotten for this mode. And it's just ridiculous. I want it to change. I hope it changes. But we're not going to sit here waiting forever. Especially when everything we've seen so far has given us really no confidence in that things are going to change in the future. If there's going to be change, show that with action. Not words. Because the words don't mean anything anymore. Not to me, at least. But that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, do remember to like and subscribe. Would love to hear how you feel in the comments below, but I'm sure I know already how a lot of you feel from just the comments in yesterday's video and on Discord and all the other, social media places. But I've seen I am far from the only one who feels this way. And it's just getting to be a bit too much. I did want to add this at the end, as I guess this came out while I was editing, and wanted the information to get out there. So, shout out to Alkali. If you don't know, she's the community manager for Hearthstone, and it seems that the feedback was definitely heard about our lack of excitement about the lack of news. So, seems she's being nice enough to throw a few little teasers our way in the bigger Mercenaries Discord. So, if you want a few hints at stuff over the weekend while we are waiting for the patch notes on Tuesday, definitely go check that out. So get more information there. Alkali is cool. Despite all the problems with the game, I do definitely think it's worth mentioning that don't take it out on the community manager people, or not just her, but any of the community people, because a lot of the times they are not the ones making the decisions that frustrate us. They just have the unfortunate job of conveying the message about that kind of stuff. So yeah, cool that she's doing this. And Alkali's done a lot of good stuff for Hearthstone, so I hope we can see some more good mercenary stuff in the future. But yeah, I wanted to include this because there's at least a little bit of action being taken here. And as always, something is better than nothing. It doesn't fix or get rid of any of the prior stuff I mentioned in this video, but it's a step in the right direction. We'll have to see if there are more of those. But in fairness, I wanted to put this in here so people are aware. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.